Fans, we are looking at the game between Shak Mamedyarov with white and Wesley So with black, played in the Sinquefield Cup 2018, round 1. Shak with white plays d4, and after knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, bishop g5, bishop e7, e3, castle, queen c2, h6, bishop takes, h4. In this position, training question number 1, what is the purpose of this move and how to defend against it? So what's the purpose behind this move? Let's just say black plays funny moves like king h8. Then the plan is to play g4 and then g5, and if h takes, the bishop is attacked, but white also threatens mate, so if takes, mate. So as a consequence, the best way to defend against it is g6, blocking the diagonal. And now the plan doesn't work anymore so well. Game continued, knight c3, c5. Training question number 2. Does black lose a pawn? Okay, after d takes, black temporarily loses a pawn. After h5, g5, bishop c4, white is a pawn up. But this motive is very typical to open the position. Black plays queen a5, attacking the pawn. And after rook takes, black even plays knight to d7, attacking the pawn again. And after castle takes, black wins back the pawn. The game continued, knight e5, b6. Black is planning to develop his bishop on the diagonal because it's currently boxed in. Training question number 3. What is white's asset in this position? And what type of plan should follow from this? Okay, so white could play something like rook d1, and the game could continue from here with something like a5, and then later the bishop is developed to the a6 square or to the b7 square. But in this position, Shak played f5. And you might wonder why not play the natural move rook d1. And the reason is black's development is still lacking behind. In this position, if white plays rook d1, the game will just continue. Black will have a chance to develop, and white's advantage will slowly disappear. f5, however, aims to take care of the lack of black's development. It says, okay, the rook is just well here. I don't need to develop further. And the other pieces are also developed. I'm going to play against the black king and open the position. Training question number 4. But what is white's threat actually with f4? And what should black do against it? So this is a very difficult one. Let's just have a look. If black plays the natural development move, bishop b7, white's strat actually is to play f takes, and after h takes have this nice passed pawn, which might be handy in a lot of endgames. I'll even continue with b4, kicking the knight away. The knight is attacking the rook, but it has also given up control of the e6 pawn. And with the bishop against the king and the pawn chain like this, and some pressure on the base of the pawn chain, this is a very typical motive. For now the rook is attacked, so rook d3, and now white is actually threatening to take with the rook. So for example, if the knight goes here, takes, and then bishop e6, and winning. So that's why After bishop b7 takes, kicking the knight, forcing move, rook d3, white is threatening this motive, and there's not much that black can do. If black advances, there comes this check. So black in this position actually has to throw this lifeline and give up a pawn with the winning position for white. Black can also not retake this pawn here because of attacking the rook and then check with the winning position for white. So basically it's a little bit deep and a little calculation, but basically after bishop b7 the two main motives are this pass pawn here on h5, the motive of kicking the knight, and then the pressure on black's pawn chain. Okay, very deep. Now with this in mind, what should black do? And this is also what happened in the game, a genius move. Seeing all this, knight to e4. Attacking the rook right away, and after rook d3, kicking this rook again, and then going back to the square, and being ready to respond to f takes g with knight takes. The game continued rook to d4 and bishop e7, protecting the knight. And now, training question number 5. How to continue the attack with white? f5. f5 attacks the pawn chain and threatens to open up the diagonal against the king, and it highlights that all of white's pieces are ready and well placed for the attack. White does not bother with knight f6 and discovered attack on the rook because the rook can just drop back. And now black is in trouble already. After rook a8, f takes, the weaknesses in black's position are highlighted and white's pieces are positioned for attack. And after this little knight dance here, training question number 6, how to actually improve the position. Which of white's pieces is not continuing and participating in the attack, and where's weakness in black's camp? Rook d6. This rook has not been participating so much in the attack, and the e6 pawn is a weakness, so this makes this move look very natural. And after bishop d5, protecting the pawn, training question number 7. How to simplify now in a rook ending with a lot of forcing moves, how to simplify in a rook ending where white is one pawn up. Rook takes f6. After rook takes, forcing, bishop takes, e takes, forced. Rook takes f6, rook takes e5, forced, rook h6, forced, rook takes e3, almost forced, rook g6, check, takes, and in this position after rook e2 takes and takes. Okay, white is a pawn up. In this position, training question number 8. What is white's most promising plan? White has a winning plan, or very promising plan, and what is white's plan? So after rook d7 check, king h6, rook takes, king takes, the position is dead drawn, even though white is a pawn up. The black king is in front of this pawn, and black's plan is simply to advance this pawn, exchange it against this pawn, and then go into the Philidor position or other methods to draw against a knight pawn. Okay, instead g4, rook takes, has advanced the pawn, but the king is boxed in. So the best plan, or the most promising plan, is to play king h2, and after rook takes king h3, bringing the pawn forward, and after a5, g4. Training question number 9. What do you think of this position now? What are some elements that make this position more comfortable for white? Okay, number 1, white's pawns are actually more advanced. So black pawns are on the 2nd and 3rd rank, and white's pawns are already on the 4th and 5th rank. Okay, that's an element that makes the position better for white. Number 2, black's rook is in front of his pawns. So as these pawns want to advance, at some point the rook is going to block his own pawns. Whereas white's rook is not in front of his pawns. So as these pawns advance, the rook is not blocking them. Okay? That's the second element. Number 3, white's rook is not only not in front of his pawns, but it performs a double function. It's currently blocking the pawns from advancing, but it's also protecting its own pawns and ready to participate in the advance. This rook is also more centralized, so you could also argue that it's just better placed, but it is most importantly performing this double function, which kind of happens when rooks are centralized. And lastly, black's king. You might say, okay, it's great that black's king is in front of the pawns, and that's usually true if it's one pawn, but if it's two pawns, there's actually very quickly some mating patterns. As these pawns advance, the king always risks to be mated on the back rank. So the fact that the king is in front of the pawns is a fourth element that makes the position more comfortable for white. Now with this in mind, we will see a lot of these motives as we continue. Lastly, so with black played a4, so this is already disconnecting the pawn, and it highlights the fact that the rook is performing this double function of preventing this pawn from attacking, from moving forward. Okay, so that already doesn't look good. g5, a3, rook e7. We are seeing the mating patterns because now black's king has to advance. Rook g8, rook d8 check, king h7, rook d7, king g8, a little back and forth. Training question number 10, maneuvering. How can white make progress? Okay, so look at the position. The rook and the pawns are here. Now comes a nice little maneuver. Rook d8, king h7, g6 check, king h6, logical, rook e8 check, king g7, the king needs to stay in front of the pawns. Rook h7 check, king g8, rook a7. Okay, look at this. Before the maneuver we were here, and now we are here. White has made progress in two ways. One, this pawn is advanced, and two, this rook is now behind this pawn. Because don't forget, this pawn is advanced and it looks scary, but as long as the rook is behind it, and this rook here cannot swing over with check, this rook always has to move away, which will give white the chance to take this pawn. So at this moment, it's not so scary. And that's why black plays rook a1 to be able to swing over at some point and make space for the pawn. But king g2 is very logical. And training question number 11, is now rook a2 check, is this a chance? Okay, the answer is no, because of king f3, and if the rook now swings over, then the king is in time to protect the pawns. And now this pawn cannot advance, because it will be stopped by the rook eventually. And the rook over on h2 is not going to be able to achieve much. If anything, it helps the white king advance. So the plan with rook a2 doesn't work, and that's why black has to play already for the passive defense. Rook c1, preparing after h6 to drop back and protect the back rank. Nasty. Okay. Black actually also gives up this pawn, and after b5, rook a7, making sure. So the purpose of rook a7 is that this rook is stuck here. If it ever moves away, there will be the mate, and if these pawns all advance, the rook is blocking off the king. Okay, black played rook b8, and after king g3, black resigned. Training question number 12. Black has resigned, but what is white's unstoppable winning plan? Isn't this pawn just gonna advance and white is in trouble? Okay, after b4, white's winning plan is to play king f4, b3, and now h7. And rook after king h8 force, the king moves forward and mates. So this was the unstoppable plan. Notice that if in this position king f5, white is actually losing, because moving this pawn forward doesn't do much, moving the king here doesn't do much, and the king has taken the wrong route. It needs to be here. It needs to be here to be able to mate. But with a b4, h7 check, and moving the king in, white mates and black is too late. Okay, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you learned a lot with these 12 training questions in this a little bit longer video. I hope to see you here again next time.